Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
I am doing good. How are you?
Good. I know you've been super busy because I've been watching you. You've been from can to cane on calls and Zooms and all that good stuff.
It's been crazy.
I'm super excited today because our guest is someone that I have been talking nonstop to Dana and anyone who would listen about this miracle worker that God sent into my life. And for most of you, you know, intermittent fasting has been my life for the last 3 years. But I also got to a place where I just could not lose the weight I wanted to lose, even though I was doing intermittent fasting. So as usual, God answers prayers, and through a bunch of realtors, actually, I got led to Suzi. And so Suzi, if you would, make sure I say your last name right. Dobias?
Yep, Dobias.
Yeah. So Suzi was led to me through my daughter-in-law, who's an agent, and she was led through her through Tara Smith, who's an agent, and there's agents in Pennsylvania who've used you. So you've just kind of become the realtor angel for all people who want to lose weight or have stomach issues. So why don't you kind of give us a brief background of who you are and how'd you get to be this person that all of us realtors are seeking out and just latching onto?
Okay, wow, it's such a loaded question there. Who I am? Well, first and foremost, I'm a child of God, man, and my mission in life is just really to serve, honor, and glorify Him, and really help heal people and bring people closer to Him, and allow Him to use me in every way that He can. And He's chosen nutrition for me. That's been the thing that has just been a vessel for me. And wow, what brought me to this place that I'm at? So, you know, everybody's path always starts out different than you expect it to be, right? Like nutrition was not something I started to go to school for. I used to be a fireman. That's right.
I heard you say that the other day. I couldn't believe it.
Wait,
Yes.
What'd you say? Used to be what?
A fireman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So all my school and everything was all geared towards that. And it's interesting because, you know, when you become a parent, and you like adrenaline and you get yourself in bad situations, not the best thing. So when I had my first child, I was like, I did some soul searching on exactly what it is. And I just didn't feel that it was going to be good for long-term for me. And so I got into like the whole health and fitness thing, which I've always been involved in because I've been an athlete since I was a kid. Like it's just been the natural thing for me. But there was just one piece that was always missing for me, and it was nutrition. Okay, so God just kept pushing me in that direction. So, you know, you go back to school, and you know, everyone can go and they can get their nutrition certification or degree or whatever, and they can walk away with many, many things, but it really didn't set me up for what I do now, to be honest with you. It wasn't until I started having my own health issues. Now, when you have your own health issues and you're someone like me, you're going to figure it out. And so I have had, you name it, I have it. SIBO, have been there, done that. My own health journey. Where do I even start with that? I mean, genetically, I have hematomacrosis. I absorb 5 times the amount of iron. Didn't know this. Okay. Had no idea this was even an issue or anything else until my thyroid shut down on me. My thyroid shuts down on me and I'm like, why? You know, so I'm always, there's so many things that have led me in different directions. But for me, it was pain. Okay. My pain point always is sports. Okay, if something stops me from being able to swim, there's problems. If I can't get on the water and paddle, we got issues. I can skirt everything around and I will manipulate around things, but we're going to figure out what's going on here. So I started having really bad searing pain in my hip, and I'm like, you know, run, bike, swim is my life, but I'm a yoga freak too. And I take really good, I mean, I eat all the right things. And I was just, it's interesting because when you are with people nutritionally, you always, you know, you live it, you talk it and everything else. But it's hard to take a hard look back at self. And so I took a step back and I was like, there's something going on here. This wasn't the years of abuse or anything else of all the other sports. Just, this is weird. And I got led to Julie Matthews. Julie Matthews, she is just the best. Bio-Individual Nutrition Institute. I heard one of her podcasts and she talked about oxalates. And I was like, oxalates? What the heck's an oxalate? Well, oxalates happen to be in the healthiest foods known to mankind. Spinach and nuts and Swiss chard. And oh my gosh, I eat all of them and I eat a lot of them. And they can cause problems for people who don't absorb them well. Now, people that don't absorb them well are a lot of people who have had digestive surgeries. Now, I didn't go into the fact that I used to have acid reflux so bad I had GERD that they had to take the top portion of my stomach and wrap it around my esophagus to tighten the valve down. Okay, it changed my digestion. So now, didn't realize that I would have a hard time breaking down oxalates. Now I'm like, wait a minute, this makes sense to me. And so I started studying what she was doing, and then I was like, I need that certification. I need to go through that. And that was the biggest game changer for me, because just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's healthy for you. Okay. I'm going to say it right now. And that's what I preach all the time. Everybody tells me, oh, Susie, it should be fine. It's healthy. No. If your body's rejecting it, it's not healthy for you. Okay. It's not. And so some people have issues with oxalates. Some people have issues with salicylates. Some people with histamine. Some people with, amines. There's just so many different things. Gluten, dairy. There's all sorts of different intolerances that people have. And even if it's the healthiest thing, it doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. So for instance, I have a lot of patients who are mast cell patients. Okay. Mast cells are your body's first immune response. Okay. They carry two things inside of them, which is histamine and heparin. All right. So if you have an issue, basically, so your body's immune response is going to be a histamine release. Okay. That's one of the pieces of it. Now, if you have mast cell issues, you're really sensitive to histamine foods. And I have a lady who, now she came to me and I looked at her intake forms. So let me skirt around for a second. In order for me to do what I do, the way that I do it, I have a 40-page intake form. Okay. And in there, I'm looking at symptoms present, past surgeries, past health issues. I'm looking at labs. I'm looking at history of food, history of just all the different patterns and everything else. And I can look at it and be like, okay, hang on. You're probably having an issue with these types of foods. So at this one moment, she just fighting me tooth and nail. I mean, Susie, it's healthy. I mean, all of her foods are histamines. And she went and saw all sorts of doctors. Her platelet levels were off the charts. Okay. And they have her on medication. And I sat there and I was like, genetically, I've looked at your genes. You got issues with mast cells and you got issues with histamines. And she fought me. Susie, it's healthy. And I was like, it's not healthy for you. Migraines all the time. Now we pulled all those out of there. Migraines gone. Platelet levels dropped. I mean, she was just like, what? I mean, and this is something she'd been battling for years. And it's amazing because people just get in the mindset is, it's healthy. And like I said, just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's healthy for you. So by doing all the things that I do with the intake, like I say, and just the conversations and looking at, just even past labs and all the things, I can pretty much tell, if you're having a hard time with certain foods. And so what I'll do is I'll take those things out. And when I take those things out, the relief on the body is crazy because, you're inflamed, and people will come to me all the time. I can't lose weight. And I always, my first conversation with them always, okay, yeah, I know. I hear you. It's going to be fine. Now, when you lose 9 pounds or more in the first week, okay, you're going to have to go 2 weeks. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And they're like, oh, Susie, I just can't. Oh yeah. 75% of the people, 9 pounds, at least within the first week. I've had people lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks just because they're eating foods that are inflamed in the body. Crazy, right?
Question.
Go ahead.
Question.
Yep.
Question. Okay. I have a million.
Oh yeah.
So I always heard that it wasn't good for you to lose that much weight in that shorter period of time. Is that true?
It's not. And that's why I held people. Like if you lose 9 pounds in that first week, I tell them I will hold you. Even if the weight stalls out, I will hold you in that pattern for another week because that's a lot. It's a lot on the body. And it's something I discussed with them. The other thing is blood pressure. Oh my gosh. I have so many people that come to me on blood pressure medications and I tell them first week, monitor it every day because you'll be off your meds very shortly. And sure enough, like everybody within 3 weeks, they're off meds. And I've had people though, who blood pressure just tanked on them. I mean, I had a lady actually go unconscious because it, you pull all those foods that are creating that big issue, and you're taking your meds at that mass dose, and all of a sudden it's like your body's like, nope. So yeah, it's a lot on the body.
Yeah. And Dana, I asked her that.
Sorry.
I asked her that. Yeah, I asked her that too, because I've been working with her for 4 months, and thank God I got SIBO, because I really thought intermittent fasting was going to be my sole answer to everything. And when I couldn't lose any more weight on it, I was so discouraged. I would have never sought out a nutritionist, because most nutritionists, they tell me all the things that I already know better because I listen to podcasts and read and all that. So in a month, I've already lost 20 pounds working with Suzi. And I said to her this morning, I said, is it okay? Like, I lose a pound overnight when we put foods back in and start checking. And then there's some nights I'll drop 2 pounds, and it's all because I'm actually playing with the foods to see which ones affect me and which ones don't. But I mean, this is just like I've always believed that genetics rule what we should and shouldn't be eating, and our health and all that stuff. But Suzi, you're taking it to a whole nother level with specifically taking each person and trying these foods. It's painful, I'm not gonna lie, because today I only get to eat rice that I had yesterday and didn't affect me, and I get to add macadamia nuts because I've been craving them. But that part's a little bit painful, to be honest. But I'm loving the knowledge that I'm getting from this about myself that I wish I'd had 30 years ago.
Right. Well, so just so you know, not everybody is like you. Okay, so not everybody goes through the process like you do. Your case is very specific because we started out with SIBO, and normally that's not like it. I don't do what we did. It's interesting because Anna was talking to me about you, and I knew that you were doing what you were going to do. And then she was telling me, your doctor gave you the things and you were going to start the things. And God just literally, I was a Saturday. I remember I was praying about all this, and he was like, do it now. And I was like, really? Like, I got like a 6-month wait list. I got to move her in right now. Like, really? Remember, I got a hold of you on a Saturday because your doctor said you need to start treating this right now. And I knew you were going to run into problems because you can't, when you're treating SIBO, and that's the thing, and especially if you're trying to lose weight as well. If you don't know the ins and the outs of the foods and how it's inflaming you and what you're doing, like, this, you'd be completely lost. And so I was like, no. We need to walk through this together. We're going to walk through the rifaximin. You're going to do we'll put you on the histamine biphasic, and then we'll go into elemental. I mean, we did everything very, very specific. And it's been 4 weeks, right?
Something like that. Yeah. So my question is, tell people what SIBO is who know, and then do men get SIBO too, or is it just us men?
Oh gosh, everybody.
I had never heard of SIBO until Linda said that word. I was like, what are you saying? How do you spell it?
And my daughter had it, my daughter-in-law had it, and I had it. All got diagnosed within about a 4 month period, and it's not catching. So we didn't catch it from each other.
Right. Okay. So SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Okay. That's what this is. And this is such a very common thing. So usually when people are diagnosed with IBS, most of the time it's SIBO. All right. SIBO how do you get it? Right. A lot of people want to know that. There's so many different things. Antibiotics can trigger it. Constipation. So if you're somebody who does not eliminate daily. So, okay, look at it this way. Your small intestine, okay, you got your stomach, and then you've got your small intestine, and then you got your large intestine. Okay, I want you to think of this: 26 glorious, fun-filled feet of intestinal tract. Okay, is what we're looking at from your stomach to your bum. 20 feet of that is your small intestine. Your small intestine's job is a couple things. One, that's where your body actually absorbs nutrients in the bloodstream at. Okay, and that's also where 80% of your neurotransmitters are at. So there's a gut-brain connection. So let me first start with this. If you become constipated, all right, and things get housed in that small intestine, what will happen is food will ferment and bacteria will overgrow, okay? And things will actually also stick to the sidewalls, and it will just create all sorts of an overgrowth. And when that happens, the gut lining becomes kind of leaky, all right? So you've got the gut lining is held together like by a tight little mesh, all right? Now, the gut lining is actually, it opens up to allow nutrients into the body. All right. Now, in order to do that, zonulin levels elevate in the body. Okay. And it'll open up just a tiny little bit. and nutrients pass from the gut lining into the bloodstream. However, when zonulin levels elevate too high, or the gut becomes leaky or permeable, meshy, food particles pass through the gut. Now, when that happens, now we have an immune response. Okay. Now the body's seeing foreign invaders. It's seeing things come in. It's saying, okay, that doesn't belong there. And so this is where food sensitivity starts to develop. Okay. So you're all of a sudden you're reacting to certain foods. Now, here's everybody's truth bomb for today. Gluten is scientifically proven to elevate levels of zonulin. Okay. So when they elevate too high and they open up really, really big, okay, we're passing food into the gut. And so now, like I said, you have this immune response happening. You're now sensitive to foods, but on top of it, inflammation. So the body's way of protecting itself is by inflaming. All right. So this is why Linda's like, how come all of a sudden overnight I lose a pound? Okay. So Linda eats something and it goes into her gut, passes through, body says, nope, I don't like you. And the body's response is inflame. Okay. She gets up the next morning, she's up a pound or two and she's like, what the heck? Body's inflamed. And then I'll say, okay, I already know what food it is. Let's pull that out. Okay. Give the body a chance to breathe. And within 24 hours, the weight will drop back down again. Oh yeah. And she's like, I dropped a pound overnight. I dropped 2 pounds overnight. What the heck? It's because that's the body's way of protecting itself. Now, you also have to know this is when we're constantly doing that and we're feeding our body things that the body is sensitive to, okay, you're creating that big immune response. This is where autoimmune starts, okay? Mm-hmm. This is where cancers and because cancer, everything stems from inflammation. And so when you're continually doing that, you're setting your body up for bad things long term. You may not see the results of it immediately. Most people, no, I'm fine. And I'm just like, especially with gluten, I'm like, it's a non-negotiable. Like there's so many great gluten-free things now out there. Like I have celiac disease, and I'm one of those people who, back in the day, when I say back in the day, like the gluten-free options were so horrible. Like I remember picking up like a brownie and I threw it on the ground and I think I broke the ground. And I was like, this is not fair. Like, what is this? It took me 2 years, actually. I have a cookbook out, Gluten-Free Mastery. And it took me 2 years to actually do this cookbook because my husband's a snob when it comes to food and it doesn't taste like the real thing. He will spit it out. I'm not kidding. And that's how he was when we created this. And I don't write anything down. Yep, that's me. I don't measure things. 2 years. And this is back when back when you had to take all sorts of the different things. You take the rice flour and the sorghum flour and you have the tapioca starch. I mean, that's all broken down like that. Now you got these great blends and they work fine and they taste good. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, this tastes terrible. It's good now. Anyway, I'm on a rant. I'm sure you have some questions. Bring them. I'm here for you.
Dana, I know you do.
I have a million. So, okay, well, let me go back and think. Will you tell everybody the process? Because I've just gotten to watch Linda do this. So what is it that you do first? I mean, if somebody's like totally has no clue where to start, then they're going to do what? Get a bunch of tests, do their blood work, all that stuff. And then you don't eat anything. And then you put stuff back in. Like, what is all that?
Here's the process. You get my lovely intake forms of 40 pages and then, sit down and just get over it. And people, Suzi, that's a lot. Yep. I've had people just, how awesome I am, right? You know how big I am in life. Just, I don't need to do that, right? I won't treat you. If you're not invested in you, we're not doing it, because I have to not only be able to help you the best that I can, I need you to learn. Okay. I'm not here to, you need to learn. And that's the thing. When people are done with me, they should pretty much be able to teach a class, okay? Because they're going to be so knowledgeable on everything. I am an educator and I want everyone to know how to fix themselves. So anyway, I'll take the intake forms and then also any lab work for the past year. Okay, so this gives me kind of trends. I get to see what's going on. I get to see all the things. If I see something in their health history stuff, I may ask, hey, can you get these labs ran done before we meet? There's some things I'm concerned about. I may see some genetic issues and say, hey, let's do a genetic test on you. But I like that information too. And then I'll have a consult with them, and basically I'll have figured out, what's going on. And so I'll look at that and say, you know, everyone goes to detox first. Linda did not, because Linda came on straight as a SIBO patient. So normal people, I will take them and I do detox. I call it stage 1. And that is where I will pull out all of the inflammatory foods. Okay. And everything that, you know, gluten, dairy, sugar, you know, soy, grains, like all of that kind of stuff is going to come out. But also whatever I see in your intake forms that is, you know, an issue. Like if I see, okay, you got issues with histamines or oxalates, those are coming out too. And then in that first week, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the fire. Okay. And we're going to focus on detoxifying the liver. So the liver has over 500 metabolic functions. Okay. It is the home. It is the hub. Everything you eat, breathe, drink, any medication you take, anything and everything will go through the liver. So it becomes sluggish and it doesn't work as well. And we, you know, hormones, excess hormones get processed out of there. I mean, there's so many things that happen within there. So our focus will be detoxifying the liver. Now, in that time frame, it's funny because, you know, some people skip right through this stage, and some people, they've got so many toxins stored up in their liver. I mean, it's like, it's a throat punch. Like when toxins release into the system, you can feel like you have the flu, like you can have brain fog, you can have headaches. First time I detoxed myself, I had to wear my running compression tights to bed at night. So God designed us in such great ways. Okay. So when toxins are in our system, instead of settling into our organs, they're protecting them. It'll settle into our joints and tissues. My hips, oh my gosh, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the bathtub with Epsom salt. My husband is like, what is wrong? And I'm in my running tights, not just running tights, the compression running tights, like the CRX, like I am taped. And he's looking at me and he's like, you got a race tomorrow? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm gonna die. This is oh my gosh. So there's certain things like activated charcoal. Activated charcoal is like one of those, we use it at the hospital for poison control, basically. So it'll bind toxins, pull them into your digestive tract, and you poo them out. So this is my game changer for like when you're feeling really bad or you get a headache. And then Epsom salt baths will help. So toxins come out of your body through your stool, your urine, or your sweat. Those are the 3 exits places for them. So it's important that when people go through detox, that they do these things. So when they come out of that stage, then depending on what happened in that stage, what happened? Did I see a lot of issues? So if there was a lot of constipation in there, if they started reacting to high FODMAP foods. So some of the best detoxing foods happen to be high FODMAP foods. Fermentable, I see you look at it. What's a FODMAP, Susie? What are you talking about? You're speaking Chinese. I know, right? I'm gonna help you right now. So fermentable oligosaccharide, disaccharide, monosaccharide, and polyols. They're basically sugars, okay, in certain foods. Now I'm not talking about table sugar. I'm talking about sugars in like starches, in dairy, in certain vegetables. Okay, so if you become bloated or gassy and stuff in this stage of all of this is a sheer sign for me that we might have a bacterial overgrowth. So things will pass into the small intestine, okay, at about 2 hours, and about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And when all of a sudden, if somebody's filling out, so they have food logs they're filling out, and there's sections in there for reactions. So if you have a reaction and you're eating like a FODMAP food, and it's like you become gassy or bloated within that time frame, okay, so Brussels sprouts, cabbage, asparagus, beans. These are all high FODMAP foods that I see during detox. And that gives me a really good indication where I need to go next. Okay. So a lot of times some people's intake forms, they won't even present that they're having any digestive issues at all. So I won't flag them for SIBO, but I take them through detox, man, and they blow up and they stop pooping. And that's when I'm like, oh, we got problems. And those are really good indications for me on where we're going to go next. And that's the other thing, like stool matters. People. So, okay, I'm going to drop a bomb on you. Ready? The amount of stool that should come out of somebody daily should be wrist to elbow. Not at one time. Okay. But daily. Yep. That's right. You heard me. Okay. I say that and people are like, what? And if we're not having that much come out, that tells me that we're reacting to something, or maybe we've got issues with motility. Okay. Motility is the body's ability to move things through the digestive tract. All right. So you have a thing called the migrating motor complex. Remember I talked about that 26 feet of glorious stuff going on in here?
Yeah.
The migrating motor complex is a peristeal muscle that contraction that will happen like every 90 minutes. Okay. It's a cleansing wave that happens to move stool and waste through the digestive tract. Now, ready for this? If you don't have complete stomach emptying, the contraction doesn't really happen very well. All right. Do you remember that? And so things will get stuck and housed up in there. All right. Big problem. Big problem. Do you remember back in the day when the big trend in life was graze through the day? Like, don't eat a big meal. Just graze through the day.
Little
Eat
snack.
10,000. Yeah. Just snack and you'll be skinny.
Yep.
Okay. So metabolically, let me tell you what happens. Every single time you eat, your body releases insulin. You hearing me on this? What's the biggest issue we see across the board medically right now?
Diabetes.
Diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. Why? Because people are grazing throughout the day. So you have excess blood sugar basically. So it gets to a point where your pancreas just gets overworked. Okay. And then you have excess blood sugar floating around the bloodstream. Normally the liver will house that for a rainy day. When the liver houses it get too full though, it stores as fat. So we have a bunch of fat diabetic people who are eating carrots and celery. I ain't lying. Like they're really just trying to do the right thing and they're overweight because of it. And then we also, like I said, digestively, there's all sorts of problems with the intestinal tract because when you're continually grazing, that thing is not working and pushing things through the way that it should. That's why intermittent fasting is so good, Linda. And you've been doing that so well.
Well, and I think that honestly, Suzi, I think that's why I did everything so much easier, the detox and everything, because I'd already been doing intermittent fasting for 3 years. I just didn't know there was this next layer of foods that could be, and every time I'd go to my genetics doctor, I would have inflammation. I mean, he was constantly fighting the inflammation, but he didn't have the knowledge that you have about what was causing the inflammation. So it sounds like to me, to be honest with you, if you could catch people early enough in life and teach them how to learn this stuff about their body, I think we wouldn't get in these situations as much. What is that true or not true?
No, that is so true. And I love my peds. I have a lot of pediatric patients that come my way, and it is such a game changer for them to really, oh my God, I got a 13-year-old right now with SIBO. And I mean, and she's thyroid issues, like the whole 9 yards. And I get patients, I mean, even younger than I've treated a 3-year-old with SIBO. And, wow. But it's amazing to see the changes and stuff where they understand it and they get it and it sets them up for life. I mean, it's so, I love it when I get peds. They're really my favorite, to be honest with you. They're so great.
Well, I used to say a prayer after I found intermittent fasting, and because I've struggled with weight for 30 years and food and all that stuff. And I used to say a prayer when I saw a heavy person, I'd say, please, Lord, help them find intermittent fasting. Now I say, please, Lord, help them find intermittent fasting and Suzi. Because I know what a failure you can feel like when your whole life seems to be in order and you've got this one messy drawer that you can't figure out that's so important. Is there any kind of program or anything that you have, Suzi, that I want to say normal people go through, meaning people that didn't get diagnosed with SIBO?
Yes, that would be my question. Yeah. What if you don't have anything like that, but you just want to know? And then I have 2 selfish questions to ask too.
Okay. So actually, this is great. The demand is high and I just don't have, and I get the normal people where they don't have anything wrong with them at all. They just want to lose weight, and I mean, we get 100 pounds off them, maybe more than that. I mean, it's fantastic, to just see all the changes and everything. But I sat there and, everybody's like, you need disciples, Suzi. And I'm like, in the process of my husband, he's been one of my people in training, put him back to school. He's getting ready to retire. He's an officer in the Navy and he's getting ready to just fully come on board, which is fantastic. But the other side of it is we created some programs. So it's like working with me, but not working with me. So we have a 4-week program has to be my favorite. It's where it will take you through the stages, like detox stage, and then going into stage 2, where you're going to add certain foods in and see how your body responds. And then stage 3, there's another week where you're going to add certain things. And by the end, you can pretty much realize and know what your body does well with and what it doesn't do well with. Now, the program is in the middle right now of it's getting a reboot. We took so every January I run a program, and because everybody's, it's January and they're heavy and it was the holidays. So this year we actually targeted a very special group. We targeted MAPS coaches and Keller Williams agents only. And we had 80 people come into this group.
Wow.
And it was so great because we had they bought the program, and in the program there's modules and there's videos of me taking everybody through everything, and there's also all the education, like literally everything that you need. But this was next level because we added a Facebook group to it, and so this way there was daily accountability and troubleshooting every single day. So my intern, my husband, he managed the group, and it was like, oh my gosh, talk about shoving a fire hose down somebody's throat and learning everything fast. So he's running everything through me too, double checking and everything else. And we had, we had MAPS coaches actually getting in there and speaking, because there's a lot of people that I've worked with, a lot of patients and stuff like that. So encouraging them, telling them their stories. And I mean, there was so much support and also structure for tools of different things that they could use and how they can track things. And I mean, so many people came off of medications. I mean, there was so much weight loss. It was crazy. So we're in the process of pulling everything from that Facebook group on and actually sticking it now in the program and enhancing it. So before what we had is we had this is your basic detox. Okay. And then you would have, okay, if you think you might have issues with histamines, avoid these foods. And if you think maybe you might have issues with oxalates, avoid these foods. This time, we give everybody the specific option. You're going to actually look and see what your symptoms are. And if you feel that you have issues with oxalates, there's a specific oxalate detox for you. There's a specific FODMAP detox for you. Like, everyone has their own, and then you run with that, and then you build off of that. It's next level. Like, it is such a great program. So it's literally like working with me, but not physically working with me. And then we have a regular like week-long detox program, which is like the first week of that program. So if somebody's like, hey, I just need to detox for a week, that's your thing to go to. And then if not, the 4-week is just, it's awesome.
Hey, Suzi, are there people out there that don't have issues with either one?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I have people who have issues with, well, they think nothing, but and they won't even be reactive to gluten, but I'm like, we're not doing that to you, because long-term, I'm telling you right now, you'll have problems later. So yeah, there are people that I have people who are fine with dairy. I have people that literally don't inflame with gluten. Like, I have people that, and so it's great to see. But you asked earlier if men get SIBO. Oh my gosh, yes. So many. It's not like a women thing. You'll see it more in women than you will with men, because there's other underlying causes for SIBO. So endometriosis, okay? If you have hysterectomy, any kind of abdominal surgery, women are the ones who usually go through all of those things. And so gallbladder removals, okay? You're going to have issues with oxalates. You're going to have issues. You're probably going to have some issues with SIBO. I mean, there's so many different layers of things, but you see it more prevalent in women though, because of the surgeries. So when I see somebody who has had like gastric bypass, we're got SIBO. If you've got, like what Lindsay has gastroparesis, slow emptying of the stomach. Okay. So this means food takes a long time to get over, and it's going to be in there for a long time. And like I said, if they have slow motility, so the migrating motor complex is also affected by the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve attaches literally in your brain and wraps down around all of your organs. And if you have any kind of cervical issues, you could have issues with the vagus nerve, and that's totally mess up. Like, it'll affect you digestively, and also with, migrating motor complex. So when I'm working on trying to get motility to work better with people, we do a lot of vagus nerve stuff as well.
Yeah. What do you think? I just had my vagus nerve lasered the other day. I'd never done that before. What do you think is the best thing for people to do with their vagus nerve? Is it exercise it? Is it red light? Is it laser?
So there's everything you could do. I mean, the easiest and simplest things, gargling, humming, those kinds of things, like, they will stimulate it, and that will exercise it daily. You can also get the EMS units, or there's also little vibrating things you can stick in the side of your ear. I mean, and also, but really, if you're not adjusting that whole C1, C2 area, if you've got a lockup in there in your cervical column, doesn't matter what else you're going to do, you're going to have problems. So keeping that well working is a necessary thing.
And keeping that well working means what? Seeing a chiropractor or what?
Yep. So if you're somebody who's got headaches and you're always like, oh, my head, my neck, I'm holding a lot of stress up there, and you're having issues with, your migrating motor complex, get an adjustment. Like, really get an adjustment.
Are there any foods that, even if someone is like feeling like they got all this, none of this is their issue, whatever, are there foods that if they tend to stay away from, it will keep them from having a lot of these issues later? Or if you can be okay with dairy and gluten and all those things, you're just okay with them?
So the top inflammatory foods are going to be gluten, dairy, sugar, grains, soy, corn. Yeah, those are like just across the board. Those are inflammatory foods. So I recommend, a lot of time. It really depends on the person. But I mean, for me, sugar, dairy, and gluten, like I veer away people from that, because those are really the top inflammatory ones. And it shows, and it's funny. There's a lot of denial, and then they eat it, and then they react, and then they're like, okay, I hate you, Suzi. You're right.
Do you think a cleanse is the best thing to do? So I used to laugh at Linda all the time, because I would say every time I would eat, I'm so bloated. Like, I could eat one carrot and feel bloated. And Linda would say, I don't know what bloated means. I've never been bloated. And I'm like, no, you have to have been bloated. She's like, no. I'm like, I feel like I'm bloated every time I could eat a peppermint and I feel like I'm bloated.
Okay, so let me tell you what's going on.
I found out I was bloated. I found out Suzi showed me that I really was.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going on with that is this. So there's could be two things. One, you're either sensitive to the food, which probably isn't the case. Okay. If you bloat right away, okay, within the first hour, everything is in your stomach. All right. So maybe you just don't have enough stomach acid to break food down. That will cause bloating like immediately. So there's a thing you can do, a stomach acid test. If you take like a teaspoon of baking soda, put it in some water, first thing in the morning, drink it, and see if you burp within 2 minutes. Like, you should have a really good solid burp. If you don't, you probably need a digestive enzyme to break down your food. So I am one of those people who I have no stomach acid. And when I say none, no, I mean like zilch, zero, nada, nothing. I was on proton pump inhibitors for the longest time because I had reflux, because I had a floppy valve. Okay. And I was constantly, the doctors were just throwing medicine at me. And when you take those things long enough, it lowers your stomach acid. When you age, your stomach acid lowers as well. I got to a point where my body just doesn't even produce it. They had me on 40 milligrams of Protonics twice a day, which is an insane amount of meds. And when I came off of it, oh my gosh, like I still have problems. Even post-surgery, I was still having reflux. Why? Because I had no stomach acid. So when I realized this and I added digestive enzymes in and I added HCl in, game changer. I don't have that issue anymore because I have to support it with a supplement. But okay. So that could be one of the issues, or two. Like I said, if it's depending on what type of food it is. Okay. So if it's a high histamine food, histamine is a whole different animal. Like, it's a whole different animal. You have food reactions, and then you have histamine, because histamine is a hormone, and histamine is also a cumulative reaction. So it's not like you gain a pound and you're like, oh, gluten. No, histamine's not like that. Histamine is cumulative, meaning you can have some bacon in the morning and be fine. And then you can have some avocado later and be fine. And then all of a sudden you have some salsa later and you become bloated. You become gassy. Your skin can itch, your nose can run. Histamine has 4 different receptor sites. You can get a headache. You can become dizzy. You can have constipation. You can have diarrhea. Like, all of these different things. You can have all the sinus issues as well. And histamine presents differently for all people. So it's not a one, this is it. And basically you have a bucket. Okay. You're filling up your histamine bucket. And when your bucket gets full and tops off, you have a reaction. Okay. So, because it's very confusing, because you can be like, I eat all those foods all the time and this never happens to me. Why is this happening to me today? Okay. Well, one, maybe you ate too much. Two, your histamine bucket may have already been full because histamine is released by hormones. It's released, again, you heard me talk about earlier, when we have an immune response. Okay. It's released when you exercise. Oh, yeah. And then there's all the environmental triggers. Okay. So you can have, there can be something environmentally in your house, outside, dog, whatever, and it can elevate histamine levels. And if you're not detoxing well in the evening, histamine spikes highest in the evening around, and at night around 3 a.m. So if you're somebody who wakes up all the time around 3, histamine levels are probably high. And you can also have genetic issues with histamine. So where you just have a lot of genetic SNPs to histamine. So we have to dance around that and figure that out. So it's not a cut and dry, this is it. It's very confusing, and people can get so frustrated if they don't know what to do with this, because I was fine yesterday. Now I'm reacting. I'm just mad. I hate the food. I hate life. I'm just going to go have, where's a Twinkie? Give me a Twinkie. Screw it. I ate all the right things and I messed up. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And when Susie says add one thing, she literally means add one thing. The other day, I happened to get this wild idea to add cilantro and lime to my rice, which I finally got to have rice. And what happens? I react. So I got my rice taken away because we didn't know if it was the cilantro or rice or the, so I'm like, okay, I'm standing at attention, one thing at a time, nothing else.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
And it's crazy with histamine stuff. So that you can take certain supplements to actually help lower your histamine levels and degrade them. So DAO, diazamine oxide, is it's an enzyme basically in your stomach that degrades histamine, and some people are probably low on it. So there's supplements you can take to degrade those. And it's funny because Anna, her daughter-in-law, was having issues with histamine and everything else, and her weight, she was like, Susie, I took the things out and I it's just not budging. She took the supplements and dropped 2 pounds overnight. Mm-hmm. And nothing else changed. Like, she was like, what just happened? And I was like, we lowered your histamine levels. And your body was like, okay, we're good. We don't need to be inflamed now. I'm chill.
So cool.
I wonder if that might be my issue, because I have major sinus issues that just came on in like the last 2 years. They tried to say adult onset allergies. I'm like, I've never had allergies in my life. So it's like the weirdest thing.
Yeah. And you have to be careful because the normal doctors, they don't get this part of it. So they don't look to investigate this part. So they just do what they know, which is give you the stuff for what they think is sinus and all that other stuff. So this is what I love about all this, is the more we get knowledgeable about our own unique self, the more we know certain things that we can try or do, and not just take some doctor's word for gospel that they know exactly everything if they're not looking at all these pieces.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
My genetics doctor, who's very smart on a lot of stuff, the SIBO protocol they wanted me to follow was different than what Susie. And I just said, I'm going to go with Susie because I see her results in people. I trust her. And sure enough, some of the things that they were going to give me actually had high histamines in them. So I would have been struggling and keeping the issues there even through my whole SIBO detox. So, I think this is super important for everybody, even if you think you're a healthy person.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I'm 37 and I've never had any blood work, platelet, like all these things. Like, I'm ready to go, like, take all the blood and give me all the tests, because I've never done any of that stuff ever. And I think most people don't, honestly. I mean, I don't really know
not till there's issues.
Not till they have a problem. That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
It's crazy. Can I ask you a controversial question? What do you think? What do you think about the vaccine?
I don't trust anything that has not been around for a while. I'll just tell you that right now. I anything that has pushed through just for the basis of helping curb the number, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So there we go.
And Dana, I asked my genetics doctor that too, and he said, in most cases, he's suggesting if they're high risk, maybe they should take it. He said, in my case, where I'm healthy, I'm doing everything I can to be healthy, not necessarily needed. So I think everybody has to kind of think for themselves. If you're high risk, maybe it's worth it, or get some consult, some advice from people who you feel like is your medical advisor, right? I ask several people. I ask Suzi, I ask my genetics doctor, I ask anybody that I feel like is on top of all this stuff so that I can make an informed decision.
Totally. Yep. That's what I've been doing too. I think you just have to really do your research on it.
Yeah.
Because it can be different for everybody.
Awesome. Dana, you have any last burning questions?
No,
My only question is, what do I get to eat next? No,
my question is, how do I get you? Which I'm sure everybody else is going to have the same question too.
yeah. So Suzi, tell them how they find you, figure out what part of your programs might fit them. Give them
RCAnutrition.com.
RCAnutrition.com.
Yep. And RCA stands for root cause analysis, because I'm always looking at the underlying cause of everything. I'm always digging, because there's a reason why your body's acting the way it is. We got to figure it out, and I dive headfirst into that. So yes.
That's great. I love that. I love root cause analysis. That's neat.
Love it. Awesome.
This has been great.
Suzi, I love it. I appreciate you. And just think you're a wealth of knowledge for people that are looking for answers to either why they can't lose weight, why they've got certain issues, even like headaches and, the bizarre itching that I was having. A doctor was
right. I forgot about your
doctor was
itching.
leading me towards gallbladder and maybe needing my gallbladder out. And I'm like, so thankful I didn't go down that.
Oh my gosh.
And because it was just, now I haven't had it in months now since I've been working with Suzi. So, if you've got odd things happening, please listen to your body. You shouldn't have massive headaches. You shouldn't have weird itching. Right. You shouldn't have, bloating and weight that won't come off and, that kind of stuff. No, don't accept that as it's normal.
No, it's funny because people tell me all the time that, well, no, it's normal for me. And I'm like, it's not normal. Like the human body doesn't do what yours is doing. That is not normal. No. But it's always been like this for me. It's normal. No, not normal.
That's exactly what I've said about bloating. It's just normal for me.
No, it's not.
Awesome.
We need to fix you.
So, Suzi, I appreciate you. Thank you. And remember, if you have questions or thoughts that you'd like, please submit them to us at info@everything life and real estate. And if you haven't subscribed below, please do. You never know what we're going to talk about next, right, Dana? And also, if you could pass this podcast along to someone that you think might benefit from listening to it, we would greatly appreciate it. And Suzi, again, thank you. And I will text you in the morning and find out what I get to add tomorrow.
You are so welcome. Thank you, my friend.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.